I have a great example of what I've been teaching for years, and that's delaying your emotions, not denying them. Some people think to adopt stoicism in your life that you have to be a stone cold prick. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let me give you an example of something, and I think this is profound only because I experienced it. I'm not just teaching it. Big fan of Bob Seger. I love Bob Seger music from the 70s. And in the song Night Moves, there's a line where I woke this morning to the sound of thunder, humming a song from 1962. And in an interview, somebody asked him, what was that song from 1962? And after years of hearing the song, I never knew what he was talking about. And he actually said it's the song Be My Baby by the Ronettes. And I thought, wow, okay, cool. That's very cool. I just looked it up on YouTube. I know the song. I've heard it a million times. And I love Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. I could probably talk for 20 to 30 minutes on the Wall of Sound and the technical aspects of it and why we love Phil Spector's music. So I put the song on. Within about 7 seconds of it playing, I started crying. What the hell? Within 10 seconds, I knew why. And I sat there. It reminded me of Chevy Chase getting stuck in the attic and then watching old films and crying, what was it, the movie Christmas Vacation or something like that? And I sat there crying while I was listening to it. And I had to turn it off. Because I didn't want to get to my place of employment, my part-time job. I did not want to get there with tears in my eyes all red, and looking like I was either crying or high or something, You know how your face looks after you cry. And I'm a fairly resilient guy. I'm a pretty tough guy when it comes to my emotions. I'm good at really delaying my emotions. And it struck me that the reason why it touched me unconsciously, not even consciously, was the last time I went out with my buddy Craig, the guy that killed himself back in February. He was my one buddy that loved going to the biker bars with me. And there was 2 places that I would go. And we had a favorite band. And he would always text me as I was looking back on his texts, and he said, "Hey, AM radio is at the Rib House tonight. You want to go?" Like, of course. And they specialize in music from the 60s. And he loved the band as I do, because my favorite years in music are 1968 to 71. If you just look up what songs came out in that time period, you'll know exactly why I love that music. And it has not been repeated since then. There was a bubble in music, a time when the music was just amazing. And we both loved 60s and early 70s music. Just really, really loved it. And this band would play that song Be My Baby by the Ronettes, and they did it really well. And the guy who started the band, I know, his name is Kevin. He's a former client of mine and a friend, and I've known Kevin for years. And he's been part of many bands, but when he and his wife started this band, it was kind of when you start a band, a local band, it's kind of a risk. You don't know if it's going to take off or not. Well, the band exploded, and they are in such demand. It's amazing. So whenever this band was playing, Craig and I would be there. We would watch this band and just really enjoy the heck out of it. But the last time that Craig and I went out was to watch this band. And we never sat at the bar. We always just got a table. And we just enjoyed the music. So when I hit play on YouTube and played that song, what it did was it loosened up the log jam and some of the grief inside my mind, inside my unconscious mind. And I cried like a freak. I mean, just literally my face was soaking wet. I had to turn it off fast because I knew I just couldn't spend the day, with a crying face. So then the next day, what I did was I listened to the song no less than 10 or 12 times. Cried each time. Now, I was by myself, okay? Cried each time that I listened to it. And the grief that was in me. Now, Craig died in February of this year. I don't remember the last time I cried. Seriously, I don't remember the last time I had just true sadness and grief and shock. But many times it just takes one little trigger and it all comes out. So is it Craig's death that brought all this out of me? That was part of it. The song triggered that and a lot of other grief that was just hanging out. Frustration, grief, the COVID bullshit. All of that stuff just came out. I knew the first time, this is just like in the past week, that I put the song on, I knew I couldn't go to work like that and just have this free-floating sadness all day long. So what I did was I waited until the next day when I was alone at home and played it over and over and over again. And it was like a roto-rooter, a mental and emotional roto-rooter. It just like cleared me out, literally cleared me out. But it just took something simple like that to trigger me. Just something simple like that. But I knew that if I waited and I was in an environment where the world wasn't going to freaking see me cry and think I was like some kind of weirdo, I knew if I delayed my emotions that I could handle it. Rather than having the free-floating grief, this is what I tell people, pre-plan your grief if you can help it, rather than just being sad all the time. I've taught this for years. Those of you who've been with me for years, you know that. Allow grieving time, rather than just being sad all the time when it comes to the death of somebody, the loss of a job, a divorce, a breakup. There's a time, you've heard the phrase, there's a time and place for everything. This is kind of consistent with that. Delay your emotions. Don't deny them. Have a time and place for them. Allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself to have emotions. It doesn't have to be in front of people. You're not a big pussy if you cry. Allow it to happen. It's the sign of a healthy person. What does happen if you keep it bottled up, as you heard people say, there comes a trigger point where that sadness and grief can be anger. And the longer you hold it in, the more explosive it will be. In the same way that my sadness and grief was explosive, literally, just like within 5 to 7 seconds of that song, boom, it was like just full on 100-mile-an-hour sadness crying. If you hang on to that stuff for too long, it becomes anger. It becomes depression. It becomes anxiety. There's a great example of delaying your emotions, not denying them. And I debated whether I should tell you this, only because, part of me says, well, it's going to show a weakness. And no, I had to get over that, because what it showed was, number one, it's healthy to let your emotions out in the proper context, the proper arena, versus just always being angry or always being sad. So this has been a weird fucking year for me. a very weird year. Between the previous year with lockdowns and martial law, let's not fucking kid ourselves, it was martial law, right? Delay, don't deny, but do it. I put a link to the actual band itself, not the original Ronettes song, but the band that Craig and I used to go see all the time. That link is down below. And enjoy it.